Is your data safe? Do you have the necessary information to assist you in confidently living through just about any survival situation? Is survival and gardening, off-grid living, medical knowledge, or even natural or man-made EMPs on your list of personal concerns? Do you have your documents and your personal information in a safe place in your hands where you know where it is? Well, check out our preloaded EMP-proof thumb drive. Over 3 gigs of survival documents and how-tos, plus the USDA offline food preservation website, and much, much more, including a surprise bonus we just can't tell you about here. With plenty of room left over to store your most important documents. Imagine if a megavirus or a computer failure took out your bank, or all the banks for that matter. Are your banking records safe in your hands? So when they get things fixed and repaired, you can say, hey, look, this is what I had. You have it, I want it back. Is your personal data safe? Family records, addresses, phone numbers? Well, squeeze on over to freedomslips.com. Yes, that's www.freedomslips.com. Click the banner on the homepage for the EMP-proof bullet drive to get the full scoop of everything that we offer. So, folks, keep your data safe for your peace of mind. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Enjoy your extra big-ass fries.
You didn't give me no fries. I got an empty box.
Would you like another extra big-ass fries?
I said I didn't get any.
Thank you. Your account has been charged. Your balance is 0. Please come back when you can afford to make a purchase.
No.
I'm sorry you're having
Come
trouble.
on. My kids are starving.
Thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we believe in freedom of ideas, freedom of speech, but above all, we believe in freedom of existence through self-reliance. This station is 100% listener-supported, and as a fundraising promotion, I have a kick-ass free gift for a $100 donation. 35,000 seeds. 25 years in the freezer. Long-term storable, 54 different varieties. So if food prices go crazy, the shit hits the fan, or if you just want to save tons of money every year by creating your own food like I do, grab our seed pack special. Just look for the banner on the homepage at freedomslips.com. Don't be a statistic. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. We need, as humans, to start taking care of ourselves and not depending on the megacorps to provide unhealthy, nasty food. Included in this package is also a DVD with 900 survival and off-grid living documents and the offline home canning how to do everything website all on the DVD. So when you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted.
What are we doing live? It goes in eternity.
In a world full of confusion, autonomy, and mindlessness, one can sometimes forget what it's all about and what we're here to do. History has taught us many things. You probably already know the saying, history is written by the victors. If that is so, what is truth? How do we find the truth? And finally, how do we apply it? Do you really know thyself? My name is Rodrigo Soto, and you are here with me, expanding into consciousness.
So, Francis,
Yes.
welcome to the show.
Hello, Rodrigo. Can you hear me okay now?
I can hear you perfectly fine.
Okay. I can hear Jolly's voice and your voice, but they seem to be just cross-talked a little bit. I hope that's not going to be a problem.
Well, it's coming across fine here, but I'll play around and yeah, should be fine.
Okay. Well, I only just caught the way that you were trying to introduce me. Would you like to go through it again for my sake?
Okay. So, welcome to Expanding into Consciousness. On today's show, we have Francis R. Conolly, who's the producer of JFK to 911, Everything is a Rich Man's Trick, about the way the world really is. Would you agree?
I would have to agree, Rodrigo, certainly.
Well, I think we're going to have a lot of fun on today's show, so I really appreciate you being here. It's an honor, really. It's really is.
You're very
Thank
kind. You're very kind. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So, what motivated you to start producing this video, this documentary, which has nearly 3 million views now on YouTube? Is that correct?
It is, Rodrigo, but I hope your listeners won't get bored with me talking about this. It's just that I think it's fair enough to make the point, because people need to know that Americans in particular, it seems to mean so much to them. My movie, which is wonderful, that they've taken the video and uploaded it again and again and again and again. I talked with Justin Stellman about this, that there are a couple of men, Rick Thorne and a Shane Seavey, who've in particular have taken my work and parts of my work and uploaded it again and again, and some of the hits that they've generated that way are astronomical, to the point where we really can't keep up with how many millions of Americans in particular have seen either the whole movie or parts of it. So we think that it's about somewhere between 15 and 20 million now, and that's terrific. To answer the question, what got me started with this? The start of it was right back to the Kennedy assassination itself. The most traumatic day of my life. I was one of those children who was it was the event of my childhood. I talked with Richie Allen about this, about so I won't go massively into it again. But the shock, the horror, the upset, remembering vividly how all the adults in our street were grieving just as if they'd lost a relative. To try and make this a little bit more original and not just repeat what I said to Richie Allen, it stayed locked inside me throughout my young manhood, and as I got into my 30s and 40s, and the grief that I felt was what sort of propelled me to just read every single thing that I could get hold of, and try to look at every scrap of information that I could. I have found and lost during the times that I've moved house and things like that, many magazines and books about all the related things, particularly Marilyn Monroe. I had a very deep and insightful article from a magazine that I wish I could find now, because I'm sure there was something in there that I would still like to be able to talk about with people, and it's gone. But one of the most important things that I do want people to understand about me is that I do have a very, very, very good memory. And to make one very salient point, because this is important, there are people who've, disinformation agents who've obviously been paid to put public comments on, our original movie on YouTube, where they've said, all the stuff about J.D. Tippett has got to be false, because his family would have looked at him in the coffin, and his family, were there crying, and they saw him buried, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that is a pack of lies, because I remember distinctly discussing it with my Uncle Edward, who I referred to in previous broadcast. Distinctly remember television broadcasts that came from America and reading it as well, that J.D. Tibbet was buried with unseemly haste. I remember that in quotes. And I knew that there was something there all those years ago. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that it was there. And it became so crucial once I discovered Robert Morningstar's work, and it became so crucial in becoming the sort of the last piece of the puzzle. So I don't want to bore your listeners, Rodrigo. Anybody who's listened to the Richie Allen YouTube will have heard me talk about this before, but really with me it's been a lifelong thing, and as things have got worse and worse, and as men like yourself have come to realize more and more and more the extent of the tyranny and the fact that that the whole of life is a rich man's trick, obviously I've needed, as you have, to to go more and more deeply into this until it's become my life.
Yes. Personally, I've had the Crossroads experience where I had to choose whether I continue to walk in the conspiracy path or make an effort to sort of know that it's there, set it aside, and then continue to live my life, because I was actually getting very unwell. It consumed me to the point where I was put on medication. I was hospitalized when I was talking about the Illuminati in 2002, 2001, and family members just thinking I just lost a plot. And, now I'm surrounded by wonderful people and, lots of listeners and lots of friends who are supportive of and what they know with the information that you presented in your video. And that was a turning point that, you can live a sane life once you find out this information. So, yeah.
A moment of epiphany, is that right, Rodrigo?
Yes. Yes, it certainly was.
Yeah, a lot of people have written to me to say that, and I have to say I'm very grateful for this. There was a letter that I received, or public comment that came on the internet a few days ago, that simply said, my God, I'm completely changed forever. And when people say things like that, you realize it's all worthwhile. So for all the people who've said things like that, I thank them very much.
That's awesome. May I ask you just a bit of background questions, or
no, you go ahead.
Jolly, I think Jolly has a question to ask. Jolly,
go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for joining us. Today.
You're welcome, Jolly.
Now, there's this question I asked based on the bite-sized world that we live in. Even though there are a significant number of hits on the video, I don't know if you know how long people stay tuned in. I end up having to watch it in sort of 2 bits or over 2 sessions because there's so much there to take on board. I was wondering, were there any particular reasons, just purely in a filmmaking question here, just any reasons for making it a documentary all in one instead of multiple parts, or would you think of putting it into multiple parts and create a playlist or something?
No, that's a question, Jolly, actually, that takes me right back to where this all started, because it started with this man I've talked about with Richie Allen called Malcolm Brinkworth, who was one of the chiefs of broadcasting. He was big at BAFTA when I met him, because the original meetings that we had were all at the British Academy of Film and Television Arts on Piccadilly in London. And he realised at the time that there was a lot of information, and there was talk about, perhaps we should approach this in terms of commissioning as a series. And I thought about it, and I thought about it again. But what I wanted, Johnny, was to be able to nail this thing in one go for anybody out there who, like me, had wondered pretty much all their life what really did happen on that awful day in 1963 to President Kennedy, and why. I wanted to give people something that would take them from A to Z in one go so that people would say, well, that's it. At least now, I can live the rest of my life knowing what that event was really all about. I didn't intend the movie to turn out to be, 3 hours and 27 minutes, but you simply have to write whatever you have to write. And it's interesting you make the point about the bite-sized chunks world that we live in today, because this is another one of the things that hamstring the truth. The truth always has to take second place to money, and that's why this film was never financed, and why I've never made a penny out of it. Because if you've got any kind of financial involvement at all, then he who pays the piper, he's the one who demands the tune. It's as simple as that. So that whole thing. I wanted to make sure that this was a movie that could disentangle itself from money altogether, and disentangle itself altogether from the culture that we live in, which, as you quite rightly point out, and I talked about this with Justin Stellman about Michael Ignatieff, the point that he made that everything we do today, is only 2 or 3 minutes long, like a pop record. Sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes you just have to get, okay, let's say more heavy. And I was hoping that people, would, and I wasn't sure that people would accept it. I really wasn't, the length. And there has been a lot of complaints about it, the length of it on YouTube. But there have been more people who've defended it. So, as I say, Jolly, I just wanted to be able to say, well, I've done it in one go. There it is. If you're one of those people who, like me, cares about what was done to Kennedy on that day and what was done to us, because it was really, it was us who were killed that day. It was your dreams, Rodrigo's dreams, my dreams. That's what it was all about, destroying what the world could have been. And I do think that, that when that's what's being discussed, that, well, is 3.5 hours such a long time?
Jolly?
Yeah, sorry. I think that's that answers the question completely. It's one of those things where, do I want to put it all into one go? It can be a unified answer, as opposed to multiple answers, which some people might not end up watching all of. At least someone can point a person into the direction of that one film and say, here, go here, watch this.
Yeah.
It may take you some time, but just, YouTube has the feature now that if you play it, if you come back to it, it'll actually start where you left off. So you don't have to sit down for 3.5 hours. You can watch it an hour, or I watched the first couple of hours and then sat back down and watched the last hour and a half. And that was mainly just because I had a few things to do. But it's a fantastic watch. There's a lot there. There's a lot that I think anyone, even without much knowledge of the whole JFK side of things, just some of the points about society in there, I think people can certainly take a lot from as well. The concept of people working just to sort of keep the rich richer.
Exactly. Yeah. Does that?
So,
yeah. Go ahead.
Well, with the working aspect, what will it take to cause a shift? Just everyone one day just not go to work.
Well,
if we can actually organise some sort of worldly,
Well, Rodrigo, you see, this is what you and I were just, discussing before we came on air, and I found it interesting that you were saying, come on, we've got to find solutions. Let me go. Let me go into this first of all. If we can together have the revolution that I think all sensible men and decent men and intelligent men want at this moment in time, if we can have that revolution that rids the world of the CIA and rids the world of MI5 and MI6 and all the other nutcase people who are involved in military intelligence, and truly gets rid of the establishment that we've got now. Some people might think, well, okay, that will be enough. And I don't think so. I think that we're going to have to look then, at that point, at society itself, and realize that the driving force of our world right up to this point has only been one thing, and that is the power of the rich and the power of the powerful. Everything, every penny in tax everybody's ever paid, every jot of work everybody's ever done, has all been exactly the same as it was in Greek and Roman times. It's purely and simply for the sake of the almighty leader on the throne. And it's just as the same as that now. And I think that if we have a revolution, but that basic structure is left in place, that we'll still blow it, because our society will still be about, primarily it will still be about selfishness. And that will lead us nowhere. That is one of the things, Rodrigo, that we'll have to change. When I was on the Justin Stellman show, I tried to introduce this wonderful book that many people know about called Zen, the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which is by Robert M. Pirsig. If there are anybody in the world who hasn't heard of this, this is a book you need to check out. And in that book, there's a section where Pirsig talks about the nature of reason itself, which obviously is now getting into the high country of the mind and getting into sort of the domain of philosophy. But there's a very important section where he says, what you have to realize is this. If you are one of those sensitive people who is looking at this blind monster that's putting up razor wire fences everywhere and building factories everywhere and causing pollution and causing traffic jams and causing chaos and the confusion and the vexations of spirit, which I realize that you as a man in particular feel very much. If you're one of those people who wants to turn around and say, no, that's it, we've had enough, we've got to, as it were, destroy the factory. And the factory is destroyed. But the reason that built that factory is left intact, then that reason will just produce another factory. I hope anybody can, who's listening to this, can find that section and read it and take it on board, because it's one of the most important things ever written, and certainly for us right now, it couldn't be more crucial. Because if we simply carry on, Rodrigo, this is my point, with the kind of, Bob Geldof called it the me decade. Bob Geldof said that's the problem with now, that everything is directed towards, my car, my motorbike, my television, my sex, my girlfriend, my triumphs, my win, my this, it's all me. I do think that unless there is some effort to make society itself more about just caring and sharing for one another, I still think we'll blow it, even if we have a revolution. Is that a reasonable answer?
Yeah, it sounds like once you take out let's like a Medusa, the snake, cut off one head and another one will just rise in its place.
That's a great way to put it, Rodrigo. That is a great way to put it. Yes, absolutely. In actual fact, the Medusa, no, I like that better for the that characteristic of the Medusa, which was that if you looked in her eyes, you turned to stone. I think that's what capitalism has really become. Capitalism has become like a Medusa that if you stare at it in the face, and we stare it in the face every day, we see it every day in an advertisement, in every advertisement, and it's causing us to be sort of stone-like people. It's asking us to be insensitive. It's asking us to be cold. One of the things that I've noticed more and more and more, because of the movie, and because of obviously being a writer of movies, is that in American films, you constantly hear these little bits of advice for life, which are, get the other guy before he gets you, Never apologize. It's a sign of weakness. You know, all those kinds of American sayings, dog eat dog, kill or be killed, all of that kind of thing.
Either with me or against me. That's one that pops up.
Sorry, again, Rodrigo? I missed that.
You're with me or you're against me.
Exactly. That as if the whole of life were a battle always and endlessly. And the thing is that those catchphrases, if you want to put it that way, those axioms, are the values of the Illuminati. They are the values of gangsters. That is how they see the world, kill or be killed. And they're transmitting these values to us through Hollywood entertainment, which is very, or used to be, very influential. It's not as much now. And that's why I think people are turning away from it. And that was a great way to put it, the Medusa, Rodrigo. I won't forget that.
Yes, so that's how I was seeing a lot of things, any sort of competition was just like the Medusa. Remove one, gets replaced by another. It's self-perpetuating. And you know what's the hard part is that we've come up to a break. So we've got 2 minutes. You've joined us on Standing into Consciousness. We're interviewing Richard. We'll be right back.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Syndicalist commune. We take it in turns to act as a sort of executive officer for the week. Yes. But all the decisions of that officer have to be ratified at a special bi-weekly meeting. Yes, I see. By a civil majority in the case of purely internal affairs. Be quiet. But by a 2/3 majority in the case of more... Be quiet. I order you to be quiet. Look, you stupid bastard, you've got no arms left. Yes, I have. It's a flesh wound. I don't believe I've seen such a display of courage, skill, nerve, grace, and stupidity. I'll do you for that. Oh, what? Come here. What are you going to do, bleed on me? I'm invincible. You're a loony. The Black Knight always triumphs.
Roundtable Live, Monday through Friday, 1 a.m. till 4 a.m. Eastern Time. Bring your mind, bring your ideas, bring your voice. King Arthur had nothing on us. Here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com.
Enjoy your
extra big-ass fries.
You didn't give me no fries. I got an empty box.
Would you like another?
Extra big-ass fries.
I said I didn't get any.
Thank you. Your account has been charged. Your balance is 0. Please come back when you can afford to make a purchase.
No.
I'm sorry you're having
Come
trouble.
on. My kids are starving.
Thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we believe in freedom of ideas, freedom of speech, but above all, we believe in freedom of existence through self-reliance. This station is 100% listener-supported, and as a fundraising promotion, I have a kick-ass free gift for a $100 donation. 35,000 seeds. 25 years in the freezer. Long-term storable, 54 different varieties. So if food prices go crazy, the shit hits the fan, or if you just want to save tons of money every year by creating your own food like I do, grab our seed pack special. Just look for the banner on the homepage at freedomslips.com. Don't be a statistic. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. We need, as humans, to start taking care of ourselves and not depending on the megacorps to provide unhealthy, nasty food. Included in this package is also a DVD with 900 survival and off-grid living documents and the offline home canning, how to do everything website, all on the DVD. So when you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted.
What we doing live? It goes in eternity.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome back to Expanding into Consciousness. I am Rodrigo Soto, currently hosting an interview with Francis Conolly as well as with Chris Jolly. So, where were we up to before we took the break? I always get blocked when I come back. I forgot where we're up to.
You want me to answer that, Rodrigo or Jolly?
Yeah. Both, either, whoever jumps in first. Go ahead.
Well,
take it.
I was going to say, let Jolly take it. Let him ask me another question.
Yeah, okay. So I was going to just to quickly ask, with the names that were mentioned before, I'm just trying to take note of who I can look up here. And I've got, is there Richie Allen? Was that one of the people you spoke with? And you also mentioned Richard Stellman?
It's Justin Stellman. Actually, Jolly, I'm glad you brought this up because the Richie Allen show, that I did, that was only 40 minutes long, and as soon as Richie Allen put that show on YouTube, it got 10,000 hits, and that one's only 40 minutes, and we didn't get to cover all that much really that I wanted to talk about. It flew by the time, just as it is now. Justin Stellman, who does Extreme Health Radio, who's a very, very nice man and a very bright man. He did so well, I thought, illustrating what I was saying while I was saying it. He had me on for 2.5 hours, and we've just been in contact by email because he's very, very suspicious, as I am, that the last time I looked, there was only about 100 hits on that on that YouTube video, and that sounds very, very suspicious to me. He says he's going to check out with Google and ask YouTube if they think there's something fishy going on here. What do you think? What do you think?
I think it's Google and YouTube actually doing it. So if you go and ask them, you're asking the wrong people. I think because YouTube is owned by Google. Is that correct?
Well, it's just been sold, Rodrigo, to Verizon, hasn't it? This is it's a big development. It's just been taken over. It'll be like everybody else. I'm hoping that it won't make any difference to the freedom that we enjoy right now. To do this kind of thing. Time will tell, but it is a worry. I don't know if Jolly agrees with that.
Sorry for interrupting. The internet is one of the greatest tools that works for us. Just the mere ability to connect to someone across the world and share information in various ways is just one of the best things. So an attack on that sort of technology, I think, would be I think if they do it, that people wake up like instantly. They go, no, something's wrong. That's my personal opinion, like some sort of EMP weapon that knocks out computer systems and whatnot. But that going back to the YouTube thing, that it could be censoring by YouTube itself.
Well, I think it must be. It just does not make sense at all. As I say, the interview was much longer. I was able to cover far more things. I was certainly sort of much happier with the answers that I was able to give. So, let's just say watch this space with that one. Let's just see, if anything changes with that one, Rodrigo. But I'm not happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen in the past, though, YouTube hits changing dramatically, appearing to just stop counting and then start counting again, and have big jumps over short periods of time.
Well, the thing is, Jolly, again, I find that interesting because the thing I cannot get over with Everything is a Rich Man's Trick on our original copy is that it gets so remorselessly 5,000 hits a night. I wake up every morning and there it is. There's why that should be, I've just got no idea. But when you look at the amount of hits that the movie has generated around the world, I mean, to begin with, you really would think that the Richie Allen show, hits would be far greater than they are. I mean, I was pleased that it got 10,000 straight away, but I'm surprised that that's not going up quicker than it is. And certainly the Justin Stellman views that just doesn't make any sense at all. And in actual fact, I was clicking on it myself the other night to see whether or not the hits that I was giving it registered, and they didn't. So it does seem to me that this tyranny that we have, is increasing, and I think the reason is that, as I said on Justin Stellman's show, is that these people who think they can control everything and think they control every aspect of our lives are getting more and more and more concerned about what you and Rodrigo and Richie and everybody else are doing, because this most definitely is having a political impact. And in that interview, I did start to say to Justin, one of the advantages that Americans have got is that that they're armed, and they're becoming more and more aware every day of particularly this electoral fraud that's going on, which is also happening incidentally, just as to the same extent here in Britain. So I do think that that they're scared, that they're afraid, and that they're worried that this kind of talk is going to spread, and that they're trying to stop it from spreading. And that's why I think that they're sort of neutering the hits on YouTube. I'd love to know what they really are, because I would bet anything that they're nothing like what they're showing up as being.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that there's so much money now in the whole search engine market as well. So you wonder how much is at stake just on that side of things. Just the political side is huge on its own. I mean, we've already seen Bernie Sanders. We've seen Corbyn in the UK. See what happens to these people who try to stand up and make a change for the actual everyday person. They get shot down.
That's it, my friend. Exactly. Just as with Kennedy and his brother and everybody else. I would like to make the point, though, that with Jeremy Corbyn, Bernie Sanders, I don't know about. I mean, being British, obviously, I can't know him and know his reputation in the way that an American can. An awful lot of people seem to have invested a huge amount of faith in Bernie Sanders. I would counsel them to be very careful, because politicians, it seems that that most of them are just puppets on strings, and that the Illuminati are able to control just about all of them. I have been absolutely outraged by Jeremy Corbyn's behaviour recently. It's very clear to me that he's just another one of the puppets, and that the Labour Party here, the left-wing party, has proved once again that it's just a machine that the wealthy are controlling to keep us down. So, one thing that perhaps I should say here is that, it's been a habit so far of, the average voter to, invest hope and dreams in figureheads that we're given. And I really do think that, going back to what Rodrigo and I were discussing earlier about solutions and tactics and what a future needs to be, after a revolution, is that people have got to take responsibility, Jolly, for themselves, and to not simply rely on a figurehead to, on their own, to deliver utopia. Because no single figurehead, I believe, is going to deliver utopia on their own. Not in a world like this. I don't think that can happen. I hope that doesn't sound too pessimistic.
Well, no, I mean, okay, so one of the things that you bring up, actually, I tried to go to the website, the Revolution Now, is it?
Website? The website. That's one of the things... Jolly, that I had a problem with. I might as well admit this to people. I thought during the writing, and this, maybe this was stupidly, I thought during the writing that I wouldn't have any problem creating a website that was called Revolution Now. Once the film was made and I started trying to do that, that was when I discovered that title had already been taken. So it's kind of like my fault. But I think that anybody who looks into this can very easily discover, I think, surely, the everything is a richmanstrick.webs.com website, on which there is basically a declaration of principle. It's not difficult to find this, because there was a very, very sweet American gentleman who has his own web channel, which is called Back to Constitution. Excuse me. And I was most surprised. In fact, I was flabbergasted that when I built the website and put this declaration of principle down, and all people basically had to do was to send me an email, and you can still do this, to simply say, yes, I agree. That's all. Just an email to say, yes, I agree. Because I thought, that if a billion people were to say, yes, I agree, it's time to, to tear down the entire system, to get rid of the two-party system everywhere, to get rid of the establishment. I thought that would be something that the establishment couldn't resist. And I've put this down, in writing on the Everything is a Rich Man Street website. And to my astonishment, this man, it seemed to mean so much to him that he's made this sort of 40-minute long video that he's put on YouTube, and if you put in Everything is a Rich Man Strick into YouTube without putting the JFK to 9/11 before those words, it pops right up, and he's done this just so that he can enunciate every single word on my website. It's absolutely extraordinary. I really didn't expect anybody to do that, but he spells it out. The whole thing, what it is I'm saying to people, and what I want people to agree with, and what I want to get home to politicians, which is that everybody has had enough of the system. Boom, boom.
Jolly, did you give web address that you just put on Skype?
Well, that's what I found there. So I found everything is a richmanstrick.com, and it forwards off to another site with the YouTube video in there. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, that's the link. The link is on it. Yes, to the film.
Yeah. So so I can see the video there, and what I actually was wondering, I just recently caught up with a friend of mine who's been living over in the UK so he's initially from Britain, came over here for a bit. That's how I came to meet him. But he went back over there and started a family and been living there for quite some time. He's only just recently sold over there and moved back here. And he was explaining things like Brexit and also the Scottish National Party. He said that he initially had hopes with Corbyn, but said that essentially the Labour Party over there is becoming less and less really the Labor Party, the working man's party. Is that something that you can attest to there?
Well, there's two things there that I'm glad you brought up, Jolly. First of all, yes, it's absolutely true that the Labour Party, as I say, is just a tool of the rich. Anybody with any real power. I mean, I'm not saying that that absolutely every single politician is being.
But enough of them.
Well, yeah. I'm not saying every single politician is in a situation where it's as simple as MI5 are stuffing money in their back pockets. If it's not as simple as that. But anybody who has real political teeth, and even a leader of an opposition has got real political teeth. They can influence a country and its direction if they shout loud enough, campaign hard enough, etc., etc., etc. And certainly anybody in the Labour Party today, it seems to me, is very clearly a tool of the rich. Because, Jolly, I don't know what it's like in Australia, and certainly it's different in America. There has been, and I must say this is to my great interest, there has been at least some acknowledgement that there's a truth movement on mainstream news in America. People have held interviews with people like James Fetzer and various scientists from architects and engineers for 9/11. In Britain, there has been absolutely no recognition, no acknowledgement whatsoever on any mainstream source whatsoever, and I include in this even newspapers like The Guardian and The Independent. I mean, I wrote to The Guardian to ask them this question about that I talked about with Justin Stellman about these 7-foot-tall jihadi warriors and whether they were real or fake, and I even asked the editor of The Guardian, and once again got no reply. Well, does that mean that The Guardian is a fascist newspaper? I say yes. I say that all news outlets in Britain are fascist now, and that everybody working for them is a fascist. I honestly mean that. There's no freedom, whatsoever of the press anymore in Britain. This is the thing that we're fighting together, Jolly. So yes, the Labour Party absolutely is not even taken seriously, it seems to me, anymore by working people.
Okay. So it's taken seriously by itself, but not by the working people, and that's
the thing is, Jolly. I try to listen to what real, what ordinary working people are saying. It's so easy when you think you're an intellectual or you think you're an artist or whatever, to make up the world all the time in your own mind. I always try to listen to what real people are saying. And I noticed, and this process didn't start yesterday. It started happening about, I would say, 3 to 4 years ago, that people everywhere... I remember a conversation that I had in the offices of the local council, where this woman who I was talking to, she just suddenly said, well, the political parties, the whole thing's become a joke, because there's no difference anymore between the parties. What's the exactly? What's the difference between the Labour Party and the Tories? And they're all just the same. And it was interesting that around the time that she said it's interesting how these things, that there's some kind of semi-permeable membrane that little by little gets through to the people who are really running things. Because not long after she told me that, there was, I caught this speech by the Speaker of the House of Commons, where he was lambasting basically all of the Commons, and saying, gentlemen, you're behaving like public school boys, and the public out there are saying that your behaviour is damaging democracy. And I thought, well, that's interesting, because that whole idea that there's no difference anymore and that the Labour Party isn't really representative of the working man at all, it has got through to the elite. And that was why they were being reprimanded that day. But I have to say, it's not changing.
It almost seems that was. Sorry, I was going to say that was almost the same type of thing that happened with getting Corbyn in there, being judged as not left enough. So they went for the vote to get Corbyn, or at least give him the chance. And they really didn't think he'd get enough votes. And then all of a sudden he went in with an overall majority and got in as the leader of the Labor Party. And a lot of staunch old school Labor guys there, well, I shouldn't say old school. I mean, people have been there long enough to be ingrained in the political society that they're in. They were really concerned once he actually was elected leader of the Labor Party. So it seems to be the same sort of thing. They put up this charade thinking, look, let them have their games. We'll put him up as a candidate for the leadership of the party, and it happened.
The thing is, Johnny, I think that the reason that things turned out the way they did was that so many people felt that that Britain has been pushed so far to the right that it desperately needed balancing out, and that it needed somebody who was very left wing, which Corbyn is supposed allegedly to be, to balance it out. But things have got to the point where, really truly, you cannot trust any figurehead, you can't trust any politician, and you certainly can't trust any election. The point I was going to make that you just brought up about Brexit and the Scottish referendum, because if people haven't heard this, on the Justin Stellman interview that I did, I want to make sure, because maybe they'll do the same thing to you and influence the hits on this broadcast. But we'll see. But I do want to let people know, as much as I can, to go online and look at the YouTube videos that have been put out about the count in the Scottish referendum, because that's one of the most scandalous things I've ever seen in my life. There were people who were going up to the ballot papers with their mobile phones, and they were zooming right into them to prove to the world that the woman who was entrusted with the count was taking votes away, ballot papers away from the yes pile and piling them up in the no pile. And this was as clear as daylight on these YouTube videos. That's just one of the ways in which they have, they're committing voter fraud and
you know what, though?
Elections.
What's going to happen now, because of the Brexit, or because of the decision to leave the Union?
Well, the thing is,
that's going to give Ireland.
The Brexit
I was going to say,
thing,
that's going to give Ireland and Scotland. You go first, mate.
I think that the Brexit thing was the same. I don't think that we can trust the result of the last three elections. I believe that the Scottish referendum, that the last year's general election, and Brexit were all fixed. Sorry, I interrupted.
That's a big call.
Well, it is a big call, but I honestly, and I don't see how at this moment that anyone can possibly doubt it. When you look at all of the evidence that's been put online, if you look at all of the Channel 4 work that's been done by this journalist Michael Crick, that's proven over and over and over again that the Tories' expenses accounts have all been fraudulent. And then if you take a view in America of what's been going on with Hillary Clinton,
well,
and all the fraud. Yeah, you were going to bring that in.
We've seen that the DNC.
The DNC. Yeah.
Leaks. Yeah, they didn't want. It's almost like Labor, the Labor Party in England, not really wanting Corbyn to be anywhere. So maybe we can give him a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. I do, because I'm not over there, so I don't know it entirely. But just as an example, we kind of the break. Corbyn wasn't really wanted by the Labor Party, and Bernie wasn't really wanted by the DNC. We can see the DNC have tried to push him out. So anyway, we'll be back after this.
Okay.
freedomslips.com. And we'll be right back after this message. Is your data safe? Do you have the necessary information to assist you in confidently living through just about any survival situation? Is survival and gardening, off-grid living, medical knowledge, or even natural or man-made EMPs on your list of personal concerns? Do you have your documents and your personal information in a safe place in your hands where you know where it is? Well, check out our preloaded EMP-proof thumb drive. Over 3 gigs of survival documents and how-tos, plus the USDA offline food preservation website, and much, much more, including a surprise bonus we just can't tell you about here. With plenty of room left over to store your most important documents. Imagine if a megavirus or a computer failure took out your bank, or all the banks for that matter. Are your banking records safe in your hands? So when they get things fixed and repaired, you can say, hey, look, this is what I had. You have it. I want it back. Is your personal data safe? Family records, addresses, phone numbers? Well, squeeze on over to freedomslips.com. Yes, that's www.freedomslips.com. Click the banner on the homepage for the EMP-proof bullet drive to get the full scoop of everything that we offer. So, folks, keep your data safe for your peace of mind. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Tune in Tuesdays at 12 noon Eastern on Studio A to hear Tammy Adams share her knowledge of an unknown realm on Talking with Your Angels. Join Tammy as she uncovers hidden secrets about the spiritual world of angels, ghosts, and other entities that have been with us longer than we know. Tammy is a psychic, a teacher, spiritual coach, a leader in her field, and will be sharing her information and stories with you. So join us on Tuesdays at noon on Studio A. With Tammy's guidance, you'll find out who has been watching over you from the other side, and soon you will be talking with your angels.
Transcending time and times, let us take you to the place inside your mind where thoughts divide and mysteries unwind. Join us every Monday evening right here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And you will catch the Fenton Perspective with our great host, Lorian Fenton. Come listen in as she shares her amazing stories from the past to present, along with all of her guest secrets to the future. That's the Fenton Perspective every Monday evening right here from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, only on Revolution Radio. Oh, and you don't need to expect us. We're already here.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome back to Expanding into Consciousness. I am Rodrigo Soto, your host for today, as well as Chris Jolly, who's co-hosting with me. And on today's show, we have Francis Conolly, who's talking about JFK to 911. Everything is a rich man's trick. And Francis, I just want to let you know that we usually do 2 things after the middle break. We have Jolly's Astrology, which is Jolly's comedic tune, but he's not back yet. The other thing is housework. Homekeeping rather, and that's just to let the listeners know that Revolution Radio is a listener-supported station. We only go by the donations of our humble listeners who like to give a couple of dollars of their their paycheck to help the cause of Revolution Radio. So if you're on the chat room, please hit the donate button on the left-hand side, and that will be appreciated. Now, Jolly, have you got Jolly's Astrology set up?
I sure do. Give me 1 second. We'll get that thing going.
And also, just wanted, before you do, though, Jolly, I want to broadcast the speech by Charlie Chaplin, the great dictator speech, after you do Jolly's Astrology. That'll be 4 minutes long.
Yeah, I know that one. It's great.
That's a good speech, isn't it?
It's
great. So I'm gonna broadcast it. It's got a bit of music in the background, but I'll do that straight after Jolly's Astrology.
No worries.
Sure.
Here we go. Aries, you have so many relationships in this life. Only 1 or 2 will last. You're going through all this pain and strife, then you turn your back and they're gone so fast. Taurus, all your life you had to stand in line. Still you're standing on your feet. All your choices made you change your mind. Now your calendar's complete. Don't wait for answers. Just take your chances. Gemini, fret for your figure, and fret for your latte, and fret for your lawsuit, and fret for your hairpiece, and fret for your Prozac, and fret for your pilot, and fret for your contract, and fret for your car. Cancer, well, you started off with nothing, and you're proud that you're a self-made man, and your family all come calling, slap you on the back and say, please, please. Leo, you are so special. You have the talent to make me feel like dirt, and you use your talent to dig me under and cover me with dirt. Virgo, if you're lucky, you get to ride in a gold meteorite. If you're not, you get a mouth full of red kryptonite. You better move over, here comes a supernova. Libra, you deserve the best in life, so if the time isn't right, then move on. Second best is never enough. You'll do much better, baby, on your own. Scorpio, now you don't talk so loud. Now you don't seem so proud about having to be scrounging your next meal. How does it feel? How does it feel to be on your own, like a complete unknown? Sagittarius, Saturn ascends. Choose 1 or 10. Hang on or be humbled again. Capricorn, there is no pain, you are receding. A distant ship smoke on the horizon. You are only coming through in waves. Your lips move, but I can't hear what you're saying. Aquarius, yo, I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. So tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I want a ha, I want a ha, I want a ha, I want a ha, I want to really, really want a zig-a-zag ah. Pisces, you can check out any time you like, but you can never leave. Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Well done. Always good. Always puts a smile to my face.
Oh, that's good. At least I can do that once a week. If you do like that, you can always head over to jollyastrology.com. I've also started putting them as videos on YouTube, so you can go over to YouTube and just do a search for Jolly Astrology. It's all there. It's all there in its amazingness, and its predictive abilities are just wonderful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so coming up now is the break speech. Just bear with us. Is that coming through?
Sure is. Keep it going.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world. Millions of despairing men, women, and little children. Victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age security. By the product of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill their promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world. To do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
How was that?
I've heard that. I've heard that many times, Rodrigo. That's really something, isn't it? Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah.
Charlie Chaplin. What a man. What a man.
Yeah. Absolutely. It gets me going. Every time I have a break from listening to that, and then come back to it, always chokes me up. There's like so much power in that speech, and how long ago was that speech? Like, how long ago did Charlie Chaplin make that movie?
Well, that actually, Rodrigo, was the thought that I had, was that is actually now 60 years ago.
60 years, and they're still happening.
Well, exactly. That was my thought. I mean, if he was still with us, I think he'd be heartbroken at the fact that you are still having to try and, to try to get his message across because of the mess that this poor world is still in. I mean, I'm sure that Charlie Chaplin would have thought, well, by now, I mean, we start the second decade of the 21st century. Surely by now, the world would be free of wars and torture and all the things that, we've become used to. And, it's absolutely no further forward. And I know a lot of people will say, oh, well, come on, you can't say that because, we're not having concentration camps now and we're not having Holocaust now. But I honestly believe that is where the Illuminati are taking us. I really do. That's why I made the film. I honestly think that they are planning. I mean, Alex Jones is saying that he's, discovered this concentration camp network that they've built right across America. These FEMA camps. It seems to me that this is definitely their long-term goal, is to put you and Jolly and me and basically anybody who's a thinker, any professional, into the concentration camps and to wipe out possibly as much as 3/4 of the rest of the world's population, because as Prince Philip has said, well, they're just useless food eaters. I mean, it's terrifying. It's terrifying what these people intend.
Useless eaters, as reiterated rather by that American bloke. I forgot his name. Something good. I forgot, I suppose. Not Rockefeller. He's a media mob. Anyway, irrelevant. But calling us useless eaters. Who's going to do all the work for them when we go on?
Well,
they'll have to and wait the same plane.
Well, the thing is, Rodrigo, there's the way that technology is now. It's more and more taking us, away from a world where brute strength and human energy is required, and that's why I think Prince Philip and his ilk are saying to themselves that we don't need this huge army of slaves to make money for us anymore. They've got enough money. It's purely and simply a matter now, I think, that the New World Order people and the Bilderberger types are looking around themselves and saying, well, this poor planet has only got so many resources, and the oil is running out. We've just about dug up as much bauxite, that's what makes aluminium, as there is. All the tin, the gold, the copper, etc. It's all running out. And being, people who are devoted to selfishness, I think that they're saying to themselves, well, if it ever gets to the day where there's, 1 liter of oil left, 1, tank of gasoline left, then I'm the one who's going to have it. Nobody else is going to have it. That's what it is. It's selfishness. It's these people trying to make sure that what resources we have left will be spent only on them. And that's why at the moment I really could envisage a future where we'll see every American, every Australian, every Brit, every European riding about on a bicycle, while the Illuminati are still flying overhead in their jets, and them saying, well, it has to be this way. There's no fuel left, so you can't have it, but because we run society, we have to have it because we run society. So therefore we get to fly around in a jet. You get to ride a bicycle in the rain, just like China. You see, I think the whole planet is going that way.
You know what? I'm thinking that may be a gift from above if we have to all ride bicycles, because then we'd get fit and then build an army, because I'm not gonna, there's only so much resources I can use for flying those planes, right?
Well, you can think about
Jolly, yes.
Yeah, I mean, they you see all the investments that a lot of these people are putting into high-tech startups and certain businesses, and it'll do them. It's what they want. I mean, if they can get, I assume, if you go along with this, then it is that they want to get rid of the plebs, so to speak, or the middle class in particular, I'd imagine. But it's a double-edged sword. A lot of this tech is also giving us and empowering people. Things like social media. I saw an interview with Michael Moore talking about his latest film, Where to Invade Next. And the interview, oddly enough, was at Google HQ for a lot of the people who work there. But he was talking about things like social media is something that we can use. Before you're talking before, Francis, about emailing or writing a letter to the Guardian and not really getting a response. But social media, it's also now we can say what we want, and they can try and silence you, but usually at least it'll get out there first. Take screenshots. Things can go viral if it has truth to it. Yeah. So, not always if it has truth to it, but things like that can happen and do happen. And they've made money out of these tech industries, which is good for them. But I don't think they probably, maybe they weren't so computer literate. Maybe they didn't fully understand the ramifications. But it's actually empowering a lot of us to talk as a global community, as opposed to just regional conversations that we may have had 20, 30 years ago. So we've got the ability to rise up. And I think they know that, and maybe that's something to scare the thingo out of them. Maybe that's why they wanted to show the Labour parties and the DNC in particular wanted to show that, so the left wing of the two major parties of the US and the UK wanted to show that no, we're with the people. We're with the people. We got Corbyn here, and we got Bernie Sanders. He's a candidate. That's all right. But underneath all of that, they're plotting against those people. And that's where we're seeing these rising of third parties. In Australia, the Labor Party also isn't really as left as it should be. And that's why we see the rising of the Green Party. You're seeing in the UK the rising of the SNP. And it's just I think the elitists, the political elite, are beginning to realise their days are numbered if things keep going along. If it's all status quo, they're in trouble down the road. My dad's been saying for years, there's going to be a revolution. There's going to be a revolution. I just hope it's bloodless. And I used to sort of look and Dad, come on. But I'm now starting to think, he might have actually been right. He might have seen this one. We can only hope it's bloodless. We can use the laws against them. It's a game. There's a set of rules, and you've just got to know the rules. I was very tempted to go in and study law only not that long ago. And the only reason I didn't is I knew that it would eat me up inside and it would just spit me out, and it wasn't going to be for me. But if you want to cause any effect or create any effect in this world, if you want to affect society, learn the rules, learn it, use it against them. It can be done. It can be done. You just can't be lured in.
It's interesting you say that, Jolly, because that's the kind of tack, if you like, that Justin Stellman is trying to take. I don't know if you've heard the broadcast he did with me, but that's what he's trying to do, is to sort of become an expert in law in order to to take these people down, as it were, with their own laws. Personally, I don't think that's the greatest strategy, because I called the movie Everything is a Rich Man's Trick for a reason, because everything is. I talked about the Fifth Amendment in the film for this reason, because everything is put in place to keep the rich in their place and to keep you in your place. And I don't think at the end of the day that we're not. It won't happen. We will not get a complete revolution going through the conventional channels, if you like. I do not believe, this is why I've told people not to vote, I do not believe that we can vote away the fascists who are running everything today. They are not going to be got rid of through the ballot box. It's not going to happen.
They're two sides of the same thingy coin.
Two birds, two wings of the same bird.
That's right. Yeah, you got to get rid of both wings.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said that, didn't he? Right.
The thing is that the point, though, that you made, Jolly, about the double-edged sword. It is very interesting that the internet has become that. I'm quite sure that the Illuminati did not expect the incredible energy and the enterprise that men like yourself and Rodrigo and Richie Allen have shown. I mean, I think it's truly a sort of a testimony to the human spirit at its best, that people like you have used modern technology, to its it pushed it to its limit, to the point where, as you say, I'm now able right now to speak to the whole world, from my own home. It's a wonderful achievement, and I'm sure that the rich didn't expect this, but I have always said that, I don't believe this battle that we're fighting right now, because we are fighting a class war right now. Class war is real. And there's thousands of examples of it all through history, and it's going on right this second as I'm speaking. And it's a war that I don't think we can win until you and I and Rodrigo and all the other people who are sort of, leading the charge, if you like, of the alternative media, until we become the mainstream. However that happens, whether we push the others out of the way or take over their stations and TV broadcasting houses, take over Channel 4, take over ITV, take over the BBC, whatever. Until the day that there's just us, I don't believe that we can win this battle. While you still have what is essentially a fascist media molding people's thoughts every single day. I mean, today.
What about Rupert Murdoch?
Well, the thing is, today I don't know if you've been able to check out the front pages of the British UK newspaper market today. Are you aware of what it looks like today?
No, please enlighten us.
Well, the thing is that there's been this stupid story, yet another false flag attack, and it's all about this priest who's supposed to have been, had his head hacked off somewhere in France. And this comes on top of, Nice and the Nice attack and all the rest of it.
It's ramping up.
And the thing is, all that the newspapers do today, Jolly, is they just provide a rack of front page propaganda, which you don't even need to buy the paper to be influenced by. People walk past it while they're buying their milk and their bread, and there's these stupid pictures. There's been a Nice attack, and a truck has run loads of people over. Here's the gore, and now here's a priest who's had his throat cut, and it's another ISIS warrior who's doing it. That kind of propaganda is incessant. It never ends. It's always there, and until we get rid of that, and Rodrigo was wanting to know solutions, before we came on here. One of the quickest solutions that people can discover for themselves is to stop buying newspapers right now. Kill them off. Don't spend another penny, on newspapers. I mean, what idiot today would buy a British newspaper? Who would buy the Sun, the Telegraph, the Express, the Mirror? They are hideous things. So that's
antidepressants, I think. The
Sorry,
way
Jolly?
They want people to be on antidepressants almost. It's almost like like the pharmaceutical companies own shares in the media, because all it does, and I've seen it happen to people a generation or a couple of generations above me as well, like people of my dad's age, people that he'll chat with. You can see that desperation and depression really building, and they thought they were just working an honest life, being able to eventually own a home and all that sort of stuff, and they're seeing the world that it is now, and they're getting deeply depressed and frustrated about it. And they're the people that are probably more than likely reading these papers, because back in the day those papers probably weren't so bad. So it's like the frog in the boiling water.
Yeah, perfect analogy.
Yes. They've been slowly boiling the generations above us. My generation and the generations below are beginning to see it, I think, a bit more cynical. I mean, I can see your take on, and I don't mean to be rude in this sense, in the truest word, cynic. I can see you're a cynic when it comes to using the law to take things back. And I think why you're a cynic on it is that there's still ideas that are behind it. So say we go and take over all the warehouses and the plants and all the different parts of industry. There's still this shell of capitalism, and it'll all just be like, oh, we can do it better this time around. We'll do capitalism better, and it'll all just build back up again, and the rich will be the ideas behind it are still there, short of some extravagant type of revolution, extreme revolution. It doesn't change. No one's being shaken up enough.
Yeah, well, that's why I talked about this at the beginning, Jolly, because, if we can succeed with this revolution, we've got to look at ourselves and say, well, are we really better than the oligarchs we've replaced? There's a wonderful moment in the movie Spartacus. Have you ever seen Spartacus, the movie? Yeah?
Long time ago, but yes.
Yeah, well, there's a wonderful moment in that movie where Spartacus finds that he's returned. He's come back to the gladiator training school where he was trained to fight, and he spends a reflective few minutes looking at the cell he used to occupy, and looks around the place and realizes he's escaped from this. But then when he goes up back to the arena, the gladiators are making two Romans fight each other. And while they're doing it, they're basically getting drunk on wine. And there's a wonderful scene where, he says to them, for God's sake, have we learned nothing? What are we becoming? Are we becoming Romans as well? Are we going to be just as bad? A moment like that will occur. It really will, Jolly, if we can have this revolution and get rid of these people.
Back when Athens.
Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message.
Every Tuesday evening on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, we present our goddess spiritual warrior, Kathy Bilski.
I command. I call to the architect of the universe's divine creators and ask for permission to quantum leap the world in all life forms on all planes and dimensions, seen and unseen, connected with planet Earth, to let us go beyond our known potential into the greatest unknown golden age the universes and worlds and all planets have ever experienced.
Kathy teaches the spiritual truth so that you may create a better life and be able to make positive changes for yourself and for the planet. She helps us remember that we are not powerless, but very creative spiritual beings having an Earth experience. Time to quantum leap into the age of divine enlightenment and let Kathy provide you with the tools of knowledge you need to awaken spiritually. That's the Quantum Leap Show. Let Light Unite every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern on Revolution Radio, Studio B.
Anti-aircraft guns went into action against unidentified aircraft in the Los Angeles area shortly after 3 a.m. Pacific Wartime this morning.
We are far stronger than we were 10 weeks ago.
Zero quarters, all hands at your battle stations.
You're nervous about your toes. I'll do the mastermind around here.
You who have not seen it do not know what hell looks like from the top.
Bam, check it out every Tuesday and Saturday on Revolution Radio. It's a double dose of the internationally recognized renegade military historian, Douglas Dietrich.
You'll stay right where you are until I tell you to move out.
Yeah, that's right. Tuesdays from 10 to midnight Eastern Time. Join Douglas Dietrich as he exposes the truth in hidden history on his show, Critical Omissions. And then our human weapon of mass destruction is back once again to take your calls on Saturday Night Firing Lines. Both from 10 to 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Only on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com.
Transcending time and space, let us take you to the place inside your mind where thoughts divide and mysteries unwind. Join us every Monday evening right here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And you will catch the Fenton Perspective with our great host, Lorian Fenton. Come listen in as she shares her amazing stories from the past to present, along with all of her guest secrets to the future. That's the Fenton Perspective every Monday evening right here from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, only on Revolution Radio. Oh, and you don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Hi, everybody. It's me, the Fetch, host of Inside the Eye Live. Before the Sunday mainstream media political pundit talk shows, there is Inside the Eye Live, where we break down some of the weekly mainstream media talking points before the talking points even get aired. Add in some entertaining stories, weather, cats, intriguing and informative guests, and you get one of the most listened to Saturday morning streaming media political talk shows going today. And it's all right here on our flagship station, Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. So join me, the Fetch, for Inside the Eye Live every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern. It is truly intelligent media for the politically aware.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Consciousness. On Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Make sure you, if you're just listening on your iPhone or something like that, come on over to the website. We've got a chat room there. You can join in and talk with us and all the other hosts as well. Today we're talking with Francis Richard Conolly. We've also got Rodrigo, hero of Expanding into Consciousness, talking about, well, at the moment, talking about the media and how they're influencing us. And I actually, Francis, I just checked out the Daily Mail site, just out of interest. My goodness. So the first part, the main headline is Merkel is running our country. Germans revolt over 4 savage attacks by Muslims in a week and blame ISIS terror attacks on the million refugees she welcomed in a year. And then if I just scroll down, not too much further, the very next thing, pictured the 2 faces of terror. ISIS released first photograph of the 2 butchers who slaughtered a French priest at the altar. It has a picture of those guys. It has a picture of the priest. Scroll down further. Suicide bomb explodes near migration office outside Nuremberg as Germany remains on high alert over ISIS terrorism fears. And it just keeps getting worse. There's terror stuff. There's also some other things to do with business. And it's all bad news.
Exactly.
Nothing says, and yesterday Britain had a wonderful day. The people cheered and lovely things happened. Nothing like that.
And you know what it reminds me of, Jolly? There's a wonderful bit from a comedy show that I saw that's on YouTube that Bill Hicks did. Where he points out just what you've just pointed out, that we get this all the time, that we get the media saying, oh, you know, it's terrifying out there, it's terrible, there's death, there's slaughter, there's murder, there's mayhem. And Bill Hicks says, you know, you look out the window and what do you get? And it's like the birds singing and there's nothing wrong. You know, so as you say, they keep racking up this idea that we're all going to have our heads cut off tomorrow, and you've all got to live in fear. And they don't even seem to realize themselves that it's not working. But I wonder, Jolly, if you could let me take up this opportunity, because you've led me into it nicely. About the point you made about it being racking up. You've noticed that it's happening more and more and more and more, and I'm sure your listeners will be wondering why that is. Because before we came on air, I was talking to Rodrigo about the thing that most concerns me with the reaction to my film is that nobody seems to be picking up on what I consider to be the most important part. And that is that in this stage in history, we really could all be millionaires right now. And whenever people ask themselves, well, what in the hell is this ISIS, Islamic, Muslim, cut your head off, put bombs in your shoes and fly a plane into a building nonsense? What in the hell is it all about? Why are they doing it? What is it all for? It is because the Illuminati know that we've reached a stage of efficient production in industry whereby they could, if they wanted to, certainly in the first world, certainly in what we consider the Western world, Europe, Australia, and America. In the Western world, there could be such abundance right now. We could all be millionaires. And that's the thing that the Illuminati are trying to prevent every single day. Their life, their work, their mission is to make sure that never happens. And what bothers me is that people do not understand why. And is it okay for me to go on with this? To explain this?
Definitely. Keep going.
This is brilliant.
You're quite sure to because we've only got 20 minutes left, and Rodrigo, you were going to bring in some callers, so
no, carry on. I think this is important.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to do after was the Bill Hicks positive drug story, the one where he tries to put a positive spin, but this is much more important.
Well, okay, gentlemen, the thing is that what I want people to try and understand is this. People are going to say to themselves, well, this is nuts. Well, what difference would it make if we were all millionaires? Because then we're millionaires and the billionaires are billionaires and the trillionaires are trillionaires. Why would they not be happy with that situation? This is why George Orwell's work is so critical, and this is why it's so important for people to read 1984 and then read it again, and then read it again and read it again, until you know the theory of oligarchical collectivism backwards. Now, a lot of people out there are going to go, oh, for God's sake, what's he talking about now? Bloody FRCs, at it again. The theory and practice of oligarchical collectivism is the book within the book of 1984. And I realized as soon as I read it, this is too difficult for most people. It just is. The concepts are too heavy, they're too hard. Or at least that was how I felt when I first read it. I think today people might be able to get this part into their heads. What Orwell was trying to get across to people was this. A hierarchical society is only possible on a basis of basically a bareness of existence. There has to be privation. Otherwise, wealth does not magnify the importance of those at the top. People have got to realize, this is what I want people to get into their heads, is that if we were all millionaires, and let's say, for instance, everybody went together to Ascot or to York races or to a place like that. Today, when that happens, what you see there at any race meeting, people see this from all over the world when the Grand National is run and it's shown all over the world. They see the racecourse stands. They see the working class at the bottom. They see the people who are middle class, who've got 100,000, 200,000 a year, occupying the centre seats, and up in the gods. That's why we have the expression. You have the Queen and her friends. You have the trillionaires who are as out of sight from the middle class as the middle class are to the people at the very bottom. You have to realise that if everybody was a millionaire, they would be coming to the course, and instead of saying to themselves, well, I'm just going to have to put up with a warm beer and an egg sandwich, and I'm just going to have to stand in the rain while the rich have champagne and caviar up there on the top floor. They wouldn't do that. If everybody was a millionaire, they would not do that. They wouldn't be prepared to do that. They would be saying to themselves, well, come on, I'm not going to stand in the rain. I want to go inside and have caviar and champagne as well. And so the people who at the moment have got exclusive privileges would no longer have them. They would find themselves standing next to people who at the moment they look down upon all the time. And if, therefore, we had a classless system, it wouldn't be very long before everyone turned around and said, well, this is ridiculous. We all work to be millionaires. The rich don't, and they're trillionaires. Should we, have this situation? And it wouldn't be long before the majority would get rid of the ruling class we have now, because they would realise that ruling class has no function. You see, at the moment, the ruling class do not actually run the government. They hire politicians to run the country themselves, and their main function is to give you and I a hard time. That situation would be completely wiped away if everybody was a millionaire. And therefore the ruling class would disappear. And this is what I wish people would write to me about more and make more comments about, online. Because this is the most important thing of all. We could all live in at least, a materialistic utopia. I'm not saying that in itself delivers happiness for everyone, but certainly it would be possible right now for everybody to be a millionaire, and that is the thing. That's the mission of the rich right now, is to prevent that from ever happening. And to anybody out there who on a daily basis says to themselves, what is all this nuttiness? What is all this madness? All this Islamic terrorism all about? That's what it's all about. It's about preventing the day that we'll all be millionaires from ever coming true. Thank you for letting me get that out, gentlemen. I appreciate that.
Oh, no, spot on. Francis, thank you so much for that eye-opener. And it's... I've got numbers playing in my head. Like, I'm thinking, like, if a group of people were to gain $1 billion, now could you spread that out? How many millionaires could you make out of $1 billion? I don't know the numbers. Is it like
1,000?
1,000 millionaires.
Yeah.
And those 1,000 millionaires can do so much if they had their heart in the right place and not be selfish. Correct.
Exactly, and that's why people, in spite of the fact that the richest families in the world, Rodrigo, like the Rothschilds, have got certainly hundreds of trillions. And I know a lot of people will probably be listening to me say this, and they'll say to themselves, come on, he doesn't know this, and he can't know this. No one can know this. But honestly, truly, it would not surprise me. It really would not surprise me one tiny bit if the Rothschilds, in particular, are zillionaires. Now, I know a lot of people will say, well, come on, there's no such figure as that, because that would be 1,000 trillion. But it really wouldn't surprise me if that's the kind of money that they have got now. It really would not. And the most important thing for people to realise is that they are never going to give back penny number one to the poor, to the needy, to the homeless, to anybody like that. Because that, as far as they're concerned, is the beginning of the end of them. So they're never going to do it. They're never going to share their wealth with the rest of the world. That's why we need a revolution.
We have a comment from the chat room from Zippy594. they stated that there are not enough resources in the world for every single person to be a millionaire. That is ludicrous. There are enough resources for everyone to live.
That is ludicrous, Rodrigo. That is. I'm quite sure. We were talking about this before we came on air.
It's like yeah, I understand what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
No, like I say, I'd like to answer that. The idea that certainly, let's say, at least in the Western world, and I did specify that. I did not say the entire globe. The third world is not all that productive at the moment, although I think in time that they could be just as productive as we are. But in the Western world itself, let's look. I mean, what is a millionaire? Today, a million only buys you, certainly in the UK, a 4-bedroomed detached house, a brand new Mercedes or BMW, top of the range Honda, say, and if you then had, let's say, 4 good holidays a year, by then you've pretty much spent $1 million. You won't have much change left out of that. I actually think that in a decade of the kind of financing of all the development programs that I would like to see, if there was investment, if the rich were made to invest in jobs, in infrastructure, in the way that I would like to see it happen, I actually think that we could all be multimillionaires, or at least have a multimillionaire lifestyle in a very short time. So it is not ludicrous at all, and I think that comment has come from an agent of the rich.
The other points, just to follow through with the other points, because I like the idea of it, but the other questions is saying that so the other points here, it says there are enough resources for everyone to live, but not enough to all live in luxury. But then again, you've sort of addressed that with the Western world and not the West. So some of the countries in the non-developing.
Is that a phone you need to answer?
Jolly? That's the doorbell. We have a delivery. So
that's a doorbell.
Get that.
Oh no! To answer that, Jolly, as I say, I am perfectly certain that the world now, in this age of we have these adverts now about the cars being hand built by robots and everything being hand built by robots. In this world as it is today, I am perfectly certain that if the rich were made to invest, I'll tell you how I'll put this. If people could imagine that there's an alien race out there watching us, and they are millennia ahead of us in terms of technology, and let's just say that they have grown sick and tired of the situation that you and I are facing now with all the tyranny that we're seeing in the world.
Stench that's coming off from this planet.
Beautifully put, Rodrigo. The stench, exactly. And let's say that they park their spaceship next to the moon and say, okay, Earth, we have had enough of you. You are just bloody awful. We are going to force you to fight a war, but it's not going to be a war with weapons. We're going to force you to fight an economic war. What we're going to do is we're going to split the world into East and West. And basically, you're going to fight each other to see who can raise the standard of living in your sector to the highest level in 3 years. Let's say no more than 3 years. And whoever loses, we're going to wipe out that section. So therefore, let's say Western capital would do battle with Oriental and Eastern fecundity. That's because that's what the battle would really be between. And let's say that in 3 years, you look at the world. Now, the rich, knowing that they would die otherwise, would be forced to take the trillions of capital that they've got and invest it in all of the things which today they do not invest in jobs, in infrastructure, in health, in providing everyone with the lifestyle that we should have by now. If that was done, I think that within 3 years, every single British man, every American man, every European would definitely have a top-of-the-range car and a detached house and millions in the bank. So much to the point where people would not know what to do with their money. That, honestly, I think could be achieved in 3 years. I really mean that.
I'm on your team there, Francis.
Thank you, Rodrigo.
No, we don't need an alien spaceship to do that. I think to force a point, yes, but I think if we wake up quick enough, we can do that ourselves.
Well, let's hope so. Let's hope so.
We've got about 7 minutes left.
Not
even?
Yeah, usually the commercials between shows will kick in probably about a couple of minutes too. So we've really got about 5 minutes.
Okay, Jolly, how do you want to wrap it up then?
Look, I see your point there as well. I mean, there's a big push. Sorry, Rod?
We got threatened from the Zippy, I think the same Zippy, that these ideas are unfounded and I'm tracing you all, whatever that means.
These ideas are unfounded, I'm tracing you all. Look,
just verbal diarrhea.
Oh, wow. I'm so scared.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't you?
Oh, yeah, I'm
I live
reaching
in
my
perpetual fear. That's because of the world that we've got. Look at the Daily Mail.
Well, the Daily Mail. Actually, Jolly, could I just say something about the Daily Mail?
Yeah,
the Daily Mail never ever stops. It's incessant, day in, day out. All they ever talk about. It's the front page every day is, guess what? We've got another problem with immigrants. They try to give the British the impression that there's an army. No, an army wouldn't do it. There's a horde. There's a biblical horde of immigrants who are trying to climb a fence in Dover to invade this country like a swarm of rats off a ship. That is the impression that the Daily Mail tries to give the British every single day. It's absolutely laughable, and yet you wouldn't believe, well, probably you would believe, how many Daily Mail readers fall for that basic vision. They do it every day.
I have a question from Mitchell, reputable member of Revolution Radio. He says, isn't their wealth really illusionary and it's all fake, built around untradeable goods? I think you established that with regards to that they already have all the gold and silver that they need. So how would you address that?
Could I have the question again, Rodrigo? I'm not sure what the question is.
Okay, so isn't their wealth really illusionary, and isn't it all fake, built around untradeable goods?
Is he referring to the Illuminati and the Rothschilds and the Queen and people like this having illusory wealth? Is that the question?
I believe so.
I would say absolutely not. There's nothing illusory about flying around the world in a private jet, so that you never have to sit next to a member of the working class. There's nothing illusory about all of the homes that these people own all over the world. The last time I read any research, how many sort of corporate heads have been investigated in America, but it turns out that the average corporate head in America has got 7 homes in various places in the world. This is enough. Yeah, well, exactly. This is the kind of greed that they indulge in, and there's nothing illusory about that. No.
That's not what I've got the offer to come back on soon to do that.